Okay, I believe I'm streaming. Let's make sure my window's open. And you know how go. Hey, as always, it is interactive. As all right, there we go. Let me see. I need to put some noise on. Now, I want to keep my mind band camp. By the way, I keep on saying I don't mean to virtue signal, but I don't subscribe to Spotify. Just don't. If you like an artist, buy their work. And I have no money to make it by it. It's just the way things, I believe, should be. Brian Williams, the guy who is he's a musician and a collaborator with Maynard James Keenan of Tool, and he does so much soundtrack work. But when he releases an album, he gets maybe about like 7 cents off 100,000 streams. It is nowhere near fair. You should always, IMHO. If you like something, buy the album. Don't just like put it on your streaming, thing on Spotify. In fact, don't use Spotify at all. Sorry, I just want to put on something in the background. Hey, little girl, that little meow meow up there that you may have heard. I don't know if we have any viewers. Yeah, it is what it is. Because I stream now through this, I don't see how many people might be in here. But anyway, I can't turn my camera because it's got a very tenuous connection to my computer. But Olivia, maybe let's just see. Maybe I can for just a second. Just give you a view of, oh, yeah, there she is, right up there. The little orange bundle right there. There she is. Yeah. We adopted her just about a little bit over a year ago. She, again, her whole life story is crazy. But yeah, maybe we should just have it at this angle because that way you can see Olivia. My cheese is about bag. Thing. Maybe I'll put something more interesting there. The only problem is I can't really put anything there because that's the cat's, step up to where she sits on the cat shelf. I'm a firm believer in cat shelves, by the way. If you don't have cat shelves in your house, uh, you'd be crazy. If you own a cat, you don't have cat shelves. You're missing out on giving them something that's really awesome, and also it's just really fun to have places near your workplace that they can always just hop up on, and they always like being higher than you up top. So hey, there you go. Beep. All right, back to work. Okay, so oh yeah, I was gonna put on some soundtrack, some sound. Yeah, this is good. I mean, this is going to be just bizarre noise to you on your end, but because it's in the background of me talking. But then again, most of the stuff that I listen to on the Cryo Chamber label is just bizarre noise. So, but it's the best bizarre noise channel on the internet. In fact, what I should do is just let's see, Cryo Chamber. I'll put that in the chat because people really should check that stuff out. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm gonna put on this one. I mean, it's sort of like a cinematic, um, ambient label. They do albums that are, I mean, really, I really can't really describe them as music. It's more like just scene setting, almost like music, movies performed in audio. I mean, movies, just narratives portrayed through sound. It's really neat. I like their stuff a lot. 90% of it sounds like walking through, an abandoned factory, a steel factory at 2 o'clock in the morning. But hey, so what we're going to work on first, what I'm going to do first, though, is I am going to tell you what I'm going to be working on. Now, I said I'd give myself a day off, but here's the thing: I gave myself most of the day off, It's beautiful. It was beautiful out today, but I really couldn't afford to go anywhere. I mean, walking around Portland, it's cool, but if you really just, ain't got much money in your pocket, it is. But anyway, I played RimWorld all day, and I felt sort of guilty. So I really should just do a little bit of work here, get this, to put something productive on the day. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I did me the RimWorld, but I swore to myself that I'd delete it, and I did. Oh gosh, it's kind of weird. Just gonna check something here. That is so odd. Why? I'm gonna have to go back to. It's just odd. This building is just everything seems to be in the wrong place here. It's just bizarre. I mean, I've checked door sizes, and this is a proper size this building should be. You understand? I did this work. I fixed this months ago, and now I'm like, what? I'm having to. It's just like, damn you! It's just my white whale. It keeps coming back to haunt me. But I'm just trying to sample a door that is separate. Yeah, there's one on the restaurant I know down here. Yeah. But if we bring, because I know the restaurant is scale, we bring this over, we can see that I mean, the building is to scale. Just some kind of weird happened, it seemed. There was just, hold on. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Do, 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 do. So you can see the height of the door is correct. It ends right there. So I'm just wondering why, because what we're going to do is going to delete that. When I select this, you're going to see, I mean, even now, what I can do is undo all that the changes. There we go. Keeping that scale in mind, this is where it should be. And I see it's not like really screwing with anything, I don't think. Uh, Let me see that. Yeah, this alleyway here is every bit as narrow as it used to be, except it looks like we lost the Peaceful Potato Company logo on the side of the building here. We're gonna have to fix that. Okay. But yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo the colliders, on this one building here, because it is just oddly, out of scale. And when I looked at earlier versions of the project, this is the way it was supposed to be. Um, I'm more comfortable working over here because we have two sectors. I know just two buildings where this bizarre stuff happened. We have that one over here, and we have this one over here. And as you can see, let me just grab the building price. Yeah, there we go. We have grab the entire sector. Um, you can see the colliders there bear no resemblance whatsoever to the position or shape of the building whatsoever. And that is absolutely bizarre to me because I remember I literally spent about 3 months this year redoing all of the colliders. No, Laura and I spent 3 months of this year redoing every one of the building colliders in the game. But anyway, just like it's just kind of odd that all of a sudden this happened. Now, it's fortunate because I could just go and get rid of that, And also, I think we have the, yeah, over here, when we grab this guy, this building here, I'm sorry, this whole sector, this building is the exact same structure, but it seems to have the proper colliders. Yeah, it seems to have the proper colliders. So, um, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the colliders from this building and we're going to transfer them right over to this building because they are the exact same. But the first step is to get rid of the old colliders. And readjust the windows, which again are just oddly, I would say, it's the window access bars. I don't know what the heck happened. Just odd. It always seems to happen. Okay, so we want to go into there. So I don't know if anybody is here, but anyway, I just wanted to talk about something. I mean, as they say, it's not good to speak of the dead. And, I would generally agree. I think we're going to go into unbaked, yeah, open again. And pull all these colliders out. Or no, it looks like porch colliders. No, they are all out of whack. It's just, why would I have put that had it not been? Hmm. When you do these kind of really deep conversions, you just learn stuff. And I wouldn't put it just stuff got misplaced and misscaled. But again, when we look at the door there, thing is, I'm always looking at stuff here when I select this stuff that it's just really, it's these tiny green lines, and they're probably not even visible via the YouTube. But okay, so let's just see here. Yeah, we have gajillions of these things. In fact, one thing I'm going to do is over here, take it up to the bottom. But yeah, Hans Rosling. Just gotta mention. Oh God, I didn't have gizmos enabled. Um, I was having a discussion with a cousin of mine who is he recently, became a vegan, and he's one of these guys who's constantly posting PETA stuff and stuff because. I think my friend, my cousin, another cousin, Barbara, she put it very well. Mike Matthias went vegan the way that some people went, when they came out of the closet in the 80s as gay. It became everything. And that's what it is to Matthias. And I don't mean to denigrate the gay experience anyway. It's just, it's a tongue in cheek comparison, please. Don't. And the experience of, coming out of the closet, etc. But I mean, he just is just 100% vegan warrior, always posting stuff about, PETA, etc., how great PETA is. And um, um, I don't want to cheese anybody off, but let me tell you, I don't have a positive view of PETA. I just don't. I have heard too much, and every time I get an explanation from them, their answer is like, "Oh, it's very similar to what you hear from Scientologists. Like, oh, you've been hearing these really negative media reports. The lie in media. I mean, they all become almost Trumpian in their refutation of this. Like, oh, come on, listen. I mean, who are you going to trust, them or us?" And so listen, if I could get an objective, accredited press organization to give PETA a clear. Anyway, I don't need to get off. off the topic. But I have heard so many negative things about PETA that I just cannot support them. And anyway, but this guy, he's 100%, and he loves him the PETA. And but on top of that, he maintains what, and I've been playing a Rim World. He maintains something would be maybe a human suprematist point of view, because I recently posted something about global warming, and I mean how things are just going. I mean how the UN just recently came out and just, I mean the head honcho said, the era of global warming is over. The era of global boiling is here. It is terrifying, etc. And I'm very, I said to I just had to say, listen, there are too many people in this world, and I understand that is an unpopular opinion, and it opens up a big Pandora's box. And it's like, how, I mean, it opens up this whole thing of, how dare you, who's going to decide who gets reproduced and who doesn't. Well, I'm not going to address that. I'm not going to address practice. I am talking about theory here. I'm the Zaslav Zizek of human sustainability, let's say, and that I just believe that it's valid enough to just go, listen, yeah, I can't say that exactly how we could fix this problem, but I just believe that there are too many. And let me tell you, I used to, and yes, I understand. It has been figured out that the planet can support up to 13 billion people. And according to some statisticians, I mean, they used to say we were going to cap out at 12 billion, and now they're saying we're going to cap out at 10.5. But I mean, really, when they say yes, it can sustain 13 billion people, yes, it can sustain 13 billion people if we are on basically living carbon neutral lifestyles and all eating a 100% vegan diet. That is never going to happen. So we have to be realistic about this sort of stuff. Now, again, I can't say that I know, I mean, a solution, because they've tried things like this. And, in certain places, in India, they tried it and it became a scam. And so it's like, because humans, I think, are fallible people. And I don't think we're going to come up with like some sort of scheme that really solves it. And because and yeah, I used to be one of these people who thoroughly believe that yes, forget the overpopulation argument. It's whatever. There are so many things against it, and really, in the end, the planet can't sustain 13 billion people, etc., etc., blah blah blah. But here is the problem. That made me really change my point of view on this was the pandemic. Because I mean, I learned a heck of a lot. I mean, I went to a crash course on statistics and human behavior, let me tell you, over those couple of years. And it was just amazing seeing how every culture's, holiday cycle and weather cycle led to how, their spikes in COVID cases and such. And I mean, you were able to predict down to like the week of each country's next major spike. It was fascinating. But and understand, I mean, when at that point we were like about 7 billion, I think, or 7.5, I think, I forget, or seven, or I mean, maybe we had passed 8 at that point. I realized at that point, understand, during that pandemic, every extra human being would not have added mathematically to that, to the number of deaths. It would have been a geometric addition, each additional human being. And when you look at how things could have been if we had just 10% more people, governments would have collapsed. I mean, India, during the height of its spike, I'm surprised they kept things together over there. But if we had just had 10% more people and we had had something similar to COVID with things as they were at the time, it would have been, when you factor in the geometric growth of the disease, and it's spread, it would have been catastrophic to the planet. It would have been a disaster, like, on the level of World War II times 10, really 10. Um, in other words, we in the United States would have lost 4 million people, rather 4.8 million, rather than just one. I think we lost 1.2. I forget. And when I started looking at things like that and realizing, yes, I mean, we have to realize. I mean, and it isn't cool to think, and it isn't immature to think this. It's actually a sign of maturity. It's just admit to ourselves that there are limits to how many people that the planet can sustain, and we can sustain ourselves. Now, I remember, as I said, my vegan cousin, recent. My vegan cousin, that would be a great movie. Oh, it'd be a very boring movie, actually. Romantic comedy. Starring Danny DeVito as like a really obnoxious, vegan. But anyway, excuse me. In this discussion about overpopulation, my vegan cousin, he intercepted, see, he basically answered with a Hans Rosling video. And that goes back to what I opened this uh, discussion with, is that it is improper to speak badly of the dead. And my father passed away, but here's the thing: is I remember Hans Rosling. Uh, if you're not aware, is a Swedish physician who did a few TED Talks a few years ago. And let me see, I got to put on the record. Make sure, right? Because we're doing these collider by collider. We're not good. I decided against um, grabbing the other colliders. I'd rather just go through and modify these colliders to this specific need. It's quicker and easier. Now, Hans Rosling was a guy, he's still on the TED Talks. He was a guy who gave TED Talks a couple of, I think, geez, I forget how many years ago I saw them. But let me tell you, he was a guy who just burnt up the TED talk. He was a very optimistic guy, and he comes out and he makes the argument that we humans are living in the most peaceful time in human history, and that population problem will solve itself. The carbon issue will solve itself. All these things will just solve themselves through the magic of statistics. And he would go out there and he had these great like color, bubbles that would come up, and it would be so memorable, and he would tell great jokes, and he would be aside, and he would have that great, energetic, optimistic Scandinavian, vibe to him. Now, and I believe that guy, to again until the time of the pandemic. And when I say speak ill of the dead, understand Hans Rosling passed away regrettably, because I don't want anybody to pass away. I mean, I understand he passed away rather young, comparatively, and that would, I mean, I don't wish that on anyone, but unfortunately, he did pass away. And about 5 minutes, I mean, literally within minutes of this guy passing away, the shine on all of his reputation and all of his theories came out. Because there were so many problems with his statistics. And the number one problem, I would say, with his statistics is the Harry Seldon problem. And anybody who has read the Foundation series understands the problem, the Harry Seldon problem. Harry Seldon was this a historian, Hans Rosling of this Universal Galactic Empire, many years into the future. And it looks like I am going to have to get those, at least these two colliders, because they do go above that. And the problem, just take a look The problem is number one, he was not a statistician. His son is absolutely. He is a statistician, and yes, he studied the statistics of diseases that he had to take care of as a doctor, but he is not a statistician. Now, what you had in Hans Rosling was an educated professional who was able to sell this fantastic message. If you look at the statistics up until now and extrapolate those using my very optimistic attitudes and outlooks toward the questions that we are facing, things are great after that point. Things are fantastic. Look, everything solves itself. You see the population go down, and then you go to India and see the population, and everything, the economics is great, and somehow things, and let me tell you, he just had this really great rap. Now, again, the problem with that, and by the way, we're going to have to go and grab I'm going to go save this. Yeah, we're going to go be up and down. Oh, because of I never said this. Now, now when when Hans came out and he said, when you look at the statistics up until now and extrapolate it in the future, that is when he runs into the Harry Seldon problem. Harry Seldon was in the Book Foundation series, this psychohistorian who created a civilization that was supposed to last thousands of years that would be able to withstand the collapse of the civilization, of this fantastic spanning civilization. And he was sort of like in a way, he was the anti-Hans Rosling, because he came out and he said, "Listen, I looked at the statistics. We're screwed. The empire's going to fall, and we got to prepare for this." Now, here's the problem: is I don't know whether it's found the second foundation. I think it's the end of the second foundation book, when all of a sudden, what happened was in this foundation, which really that he sets up, evolves into a civilization, and a school, the college, and what they have is they just suddenly, this thing that Harry Seldon had set up at the beginning of the foundation unlocks, and it's like everybody, oh my goodness, we got this thing where Harry Seldon just sits there, and like Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh in a way just goes, well, this is I did all the mathematics. This is what just happened in this future that you guys I envisioned are living in. Now here's the problem. Up until that point, they would always be correct, but all of a sudden, he was like talking about stuff that the people in the foundation were like, "What the hell is he talking about?" He's talking about a trade rebellion and a foundation of a second republic of some sort, and they found out, oh my gosh, he was wrong, because something came up after that current point, that he could not map for, that he could not account for in his calculations. Now, Hans Rosling has that problem. Now, it's fantastic. People really, really, and the thing is I understand why people would be attracted to the message that he's sending, because the message that he's sending is literally, don't worry, be happy, go out and buy plastic. I'm not going to, I'm very sorry. I don't mean to, I was trying to imitate that, the vocalist voice, not trying to, appropriate. I apologize for that. But anyway, his message, don't worry, be happy, go out there, continue to have as many children as you want, because the population problem will solve itself. Go out and consume as much gasoline and travel as much as you want, because that'll solve itself. Trust me. Because why? Because I have these statistics and these great bubbles, and let me tell you, and so on and so forth. And just and he was preaching this thing as, you do not have to worry, everything is great, because by my very optimistic numbers, things are going to turn out great no matter what we do. And you could argue that. And one of the things is I would highly suggest, by the way, Hans Rosling. I've watched his TED talks, and when I first saw them, I was like, yeah, that's really cool. We don't have to worry. But let me tell you again, there comes a time when you realize, no, that ain't no, we cannot afford optimism on the level that he was preaching. Uh, and I'm not calling for genocide. I'm not calling for any like eugenics or anything. Please do not put that on me. Not at all. Uh, what I'm just saying is that unfortunately we can't afford the optimism of somebody like Hans Rosling because here's the equation we have to look at. Imagine I am wrong and Hans Rosling is correct. That everything will turn out correct, fine in the end, no matter what we do. Um, if he turns, okay, I'm very sorry. Let me rewind because it's better if I started off this way. I apologize. Um, Imagine a scenario where I'm right and Hans Rosling is wrong. The worst case scenario is that we limit human growth. We work on green technology. We try to live within our means and not consume as much as possible. Okay, the worst thing that'll happen is we'll have a cleaner planet and cleaner cities and healthier food and less widespread disease. Now, let's assume the opposite that I am incorrect and Hans Ros. I mean, that Hans Rosling is correct. I am wrong, and we continue to just go along that path and just listen to him and go assume we could continue this all like indefinitely into the future. What if we reach that point and we realize, oh my gosh, those statistics that he presented turned out to be incorrect? We have that Harry Seldon moment where all those rosy predictions. What's our backup plan then? What is our what's the worst thing that can happen if he is wrong? Like I said, we could run into. Right now, we're having a food crisis simply because of a war in a country slightly larger than the state of Texas. We're having a worldwide global food crisis, and you can argue, well, it's because of the shipping, et cetera, and because of the embargo. No, we are having a mad. Trust me, if we had 10% more people, it would be exponentially far worse. I'm wondering. I mean, Hans Rosling passed away before the Ukraine war, and I mean, his big preach back then was, "Oh, don't worry. Again, we live in the most peaceful time in human history, and we don't need to worry about this sort of thing, etc., etc." Literally, and also, I mean, understand the moment that this guy died, the shine started to come off his apple because people just like, wait, hold on. When you do the math, no, it's not that way. And I'm going to save. Yeah, I am disturbed when I still see people using the argument that Hans Rosling, this optimistic guy that again was not a statistician, got and to me he was right up there with South Park and like going man bear pig, because for about 10 years anybody any academic who any corporation or any lazy leftist or any lazy person really could go, oh, we don't have to worry about any of these things. Listen, we got this guy named Hans Rosling. He's fantastic. I saw him on his TED talk, and he's so convincing. If you watch him for 2 minutes, you will be convinced that the world is like set for a great future. And I mean, all this stuff you don't have to worry about. And I would really, again, would love to believe that sort of message. And again, that's why he is popular. because he is preaching a very popular message. Don't worry, be happy, pollute, reproduce, go on, keep calm and carry on. And no, I just do not think that's a wise thing to do. And anybody who just points to this guy, again, I'm not the only one who has this opinion. And let me tell you, I have my own concerns about things like TED Talks. And we're going to cover that when I get back. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Nosferatu. I'll be right back. I gotta freshen this and get myself something more bread-like to consume. I'm sorry. But anyway, just as I'm going to go back to what I was saying, just as everybody on the right who wanted to deny, global warming or just whatever, because of that stupid man bear pig episode of South Park, for about 10 years, the argument was just stymied. Any intelligent conversation about things like global, pardon me, my belching, was stymied on the right by somebody going, that guy believes man bear pig starred, and unfortunately Hans Rosling is a more intellectual sort of leftist version of that is but it's where the person goes, huh, they just don't know, they just don't know, we don't have to worry about this stuff at all, of course. I listened to this TED talk and I know, let me tell you, I just have to say this about TED talks: if you do not know about TED talks, if you are invited to give a TED talk, you are required to sit through everybody else's presentation, and et cetera, et cetera. You are pretty much roped into it. And some people who have who've done TED talks in the past, and I said I'm not going to do it in the future because it struck me as a little bit of a Scientology-esque vibe there. And I'm not saying they're Scientologists, but they just seem to have just a little bit of a, pyramid power, bizarre thing going on. And I ever since then, I just sort of tuned it out. And again, when my vegan cousin, he mentioned this TED, the Hans Rosling, the most famous TED Talk guy, Teddy Talkie guy. I just, again, it just annoys me when I still hear people going back to the same crap. Because again, the moment that Hans Rosling died, the shine came off his apple, and people were going, "Oh, yeah, the math, the numbers, they really don't bear this out. They really don't." And but people remember his TED talks. They don't remember the numerous refutations of everything. And also, really, you just have to look at the incidents that have happened since he passed away and realize that he has been consistently wrong, 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 as Dr. Cox said on Scrubs. By the way, a couple seasons of Scrubs I actually liked. I didn't like it was just sort of crazy. JD was always like portrayed as this like really loser guy, but man, he had a constant parade of just like cute women coming through his bedroom. I was like, jeez. And I will no, I that's another rant for another day. Okay, how Hollywood and the entertainment industry breeds incels. That's another thing for me to say. But anyway, um, yeah. Let's see. But yeah, he just was. After he passed away, people just sort of woke up and went like, well, wow, blah, blah, blah. That was a great spiel he had, but in the end, it just really isn't correct when you look at how things are going, how things are going. Because even when you look, and yes, his son, by the way, you could go, oh, he has, what's that thing? He has some sort of website that's all about statistics and such, and his son runs it. And his son is a statistician. But I mean, how many times are they going to adjust things as things change? I don't think there's any validity to anybody who thinks that they know how things are going to pan out in the future. And there is a great saying that was from the Cold War. And I remember it was from a Cold War film, and it was used as a sample in a industrial sort of techno song by a band, Frontline Assembly, and it was "It's not safe to hope for the best without preparing for the worst." And Hans Rosling preached just this gospel of don't prepare, don't bother, don't worry, everything will be fine. Because look at my charts, look at my colored bubbles, and look at my, my scholarly attitude and my sweater. I'm like, you're Mr. Rogers. And I mean, yeah, he had the whole man. I could see again why people want. And first time again when I saw things, his speeches. I mean, his TED talks. Back when I watched TED talks. Um, sorry. I mean, really, that is a captivating, wonderful message to people that are worrying and wake up every day and see things like what the UN reported is what's going to happen. You said reported the other day, and I mean, I get, but I can't fall into that, and it's disturbing when I see people falling into that, especially since again he was refuted. It's like hearing people going, "Hey, have you heard about this Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh guy? He had some really great attitudes about like life in general and success. Have you heard about anyway, Antelope, Oregon? Ring a bell to you? Anyway, um, I just had to get that out. And can I just say? And I'm going to say, and this is coming from an atheist agnostic. Okay, they had endless talks about Buddhism on there, and they had several talk. Any talk about spirituality, they had a clear preference toward things such as Buddhism and such, and any talk about religion, etc. They had a clear preference toward, Buddhism, and that's fine. I am Buddhism is as legit as just about any other religion. And before any Buddhist, in the audience goes, "Oh, it's a way of thought. It's not a religion. It's a spiritual practice." Okay, okay, we're gonna have to just get into the conversation of which, school of Buddhism, which tradition of Buddhism, and then I find out that the person who objected really doesn't know anything about Buddhism, and they're just, and I have to correct them. So anyway. Let me just get these to work. Because, uh, last, I mean, I do understand. I mean, I've studied just about every. I mean, I love studying religion. By the way, I absolutely love it. But I mean, I know Buddha said, I mean, specifically, Gautama Siddhartha specifically said, please, just like Lenin said, Lenin, the Bolshevik, when he died, he said, statues, please put up no statues of me. They only attract pigeons. I don't want any. And as immediately after Lenin died, they were like, he was absolutely right. The best way to remind our people that Lenin was a regular guy and we should put up statues of him. Let's put up as many statues of him as possible. And that's happened. That happened to Buddha. It just did. And yeah, bless, there are many people who don't. I haven't fallen into that. But I mean, I'm not a Buddhist again. But I've done these things are out of whack. Everything's out of position out here, but it's all good. It's all good. Now, we'll bring this back to the TED Talk. I just had to go through it. I said, I mean, I'd have to see now. Maybe they've corrected it. Did they have any TED Talks by Baptist ministers? Did they have any talks by like Catholic priests? Or was it all just, Buddhists speaking? Oh, yeah, I think, what's his face? God, he wrote Jim Wallace. I think he did a TED Talk. And I like Jim Wallace, but he's, what the heck? What is wrong here? Just seeing something. I'm gonna have to just Oh yeah, because the ivy is in its own separate object. Okay, I think I've done everything here with the exception of the window entrance things. I need to adjust those. Feck. What did I do? I'm just gonna just zip out. Because, I mean, I'm really finding it fascinating from just, again, an anthropological point of view, what's happening in Myanmar. Uh, there is a Buddhist priest over there who proudly models himself after Osama bin Laden, and he preaches the, straight out genocide of Rohingya Muslims. He's a straight up Buddhist monk. So again, religion to me is just all, I mean, fantastic if you get rewards off of it. No judgment from this end of the table, but to me, it's all bollocks. All of it is bollocks. But it's all fascinating. I'd have to say, I mean, to me, my two favorite religions, I mean, really is crazy, is like, I'm fascinated by religions that like have crazy ideas, but most religions when they have some sort of like crazy idea, they're just like, trust me, it's a matter of faith. But some religions, they just have to absolutely prove it beyond any shadow of doubt that yes, this is absolutely correct, and yes, this happens. And the two that are the most adamant in that regard are Orthodox Judaism and Catholicism. Because when you think about it, something like transubstantiation, and if you don't know, transubstantiation is the process by which a Holy Communion wafer, upon it being eaten by a human, transubstantiates into the flesh of Jesus Christ. If you go into the Vatican Library, they've got thousands of books written on theory and practice of transubstantiation. The same thing. I forget what they're called. Not a yeshiva, but they're basically the Jewish equivalent of the Christian reading room, where they have all the holy texts and they can go there and they can study everything, etc., etc. But in those books, they prescribe how to slice a carrot. There are literally Talmudic things. I believe. I mean, about salt, about the proper amount of salties, about the proper a way to slice vegetables, proper way. Everything, every aspect of life has been laid down so precisely and so meticulously. And I just find it fascinating. There are some religions where they're just like, we got it. We got to lay this down. Everything. We can't leave anything up to people's imagination. They got to know exactly how these miraculous things happen and how to do them. But again, religions usually start as prescriptions of how to live, traditions, how to do things. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look at the name for those because earlier I was watching travel logs earlier this year while I was working during the day. Maine and winter it gets really depressing, and I liked watching travel logs. And I got into this one YouTube travel log guy by the name of Trubinsky. He traveled to what I forget what they called it. Maybe we have an Orthodox Jewish or a Jewish person in the audience who can explain it and tell me what that is, because I know it's not a yeshiva. I know it's not a temple, but it's like a reading room, where they got all the books, almost the whole entire room, and they got the thing on one side. I forget what. Not Jewish. I don't know. Eric showing off like his total cluelessness about Judaistic Judaism. When I lived back in New Jersey, by the way, I lived in New Jersey for about 13 years. You cannot live in New Jersey without having several Muslim and Jewish friends, and it was the same way down there. And I think all the Jewish people I knew were mostly very liberal, very secular. What the heck? What happened to our clients? I'm trying to find them. Just bizarre. Anyway. So I don't know much about it. I went to, I'll tell this story. Joe, oh yeah, I was redoing the windows. I'm sorry, I lost my place there while I was talking. Joe Strika, a friend of mine, he's written several books on, believe it or not, furry fandom. You can check him out. But he invited me to it's like the pre-bar mitzvah for his son. I mean, they have a thing before the bar mitzvah, the night before. That's supposed to be all about the expectation of this and etc. And I attended that, and boy, that was again one of those situations where I just boy, I feel clueless. I mean, there's a point where everybody got up and turned around and bowed toward the entrance. I'm just sitting there. I have no idea what's going on. No idea. And I mean, I understand that. I mean, as far as Catholicism goes, I understand the biggest schism in modern times within the Catholic Church was, Vatican II, when they finally said, Mass can be, Mass and services do not have to be strictly liturgical Latin. And there were just so many people who were like, nope, I ain't gonna do that. Jeez, if it's not in a language that nobody has spoken, in literally almost 2,000 years, it just ain't church to me. I just don't. Hey, humans be cray cray, yo. Jeez, where are our? I'm gonna open this up and find it because this is weird that I haven't been able to find them in here. Because yeah, they are just bizarre. I've been cycling through here for about 10 minutes now trying to find these things. And by the way, I got into watching Drubinski. This is a story, and I mean, if any smokers are out there, please listen. Don't smoke. Drubinski is this guy who does a travel log on YouTube. And I watched a lot of his videos because they were interesting. And like I said, he went to, one of these things. But he also reminded me of this. I watched all that because, unfortunately, a friend of mine, the previous year, he went into the hospice for lung cancer. I actually lived with that guy for about 4 years. I mean, back then I smoked cigarettes too, and man, we smoked that place up. It was just like the air was half nicotine in that place. And by the way, both of my cats were fine. Apparently, they did pass away at ripe old ages. It had nothing to do with anything in their lungs, thankfully. I don't think I would have been able to live myself. Yeah, deport. Here we go. That's where I was looking for them. And now I gotta find those inside of here. The window portals. All of the gotta go through. Oh God, this is my hell. This is why I've been putting it off for the longest time. And by the way, I think my family is traditionally Catholic, but what happened? I mean, my father's side. But what happened was he married a Baptist, and et cetera, et cetera. Both families hated, et cetera. So they said we're gonna raise our kids with absolutely no religion whatsoever. And boy, it meant I had a lot of free time on Sundays because I grew up in I mean, we moved to Fayetteville, Tennessee, and man, that town it was a classic Bible Belt town. It had so many churches, it was ridiculous. Mhm. What's they're supposed to be here? Right? No, we have to go down. Yeah, these are the ones that have to be nudged. And it was mostly Southern Baptists down there, and I couldn't. Yeah, I know nothing about Southern Baptism, Baptist stuff. I know they can't dance. That's the one thing. That's the only thing. Um, they believe in the Southern Baptists is what I'm talking about. Southern Baptist Convention. They believe in like water baptism. They believe in I think, or redemption through both faith and works. I don't know. Again, this is something that I don't know much about. Islam has a lot of that. It has a lot of the same aspects of just like scriptures and rules for everything. But can I say I attended a convention, the a convention. It was called the NAMWA convention, a North American Association of Muslim Women. Yeah, I got their photojournalism prize. I attended their convention. I got their excellence in photojournalism award in 2003. Um, and I remember. I mean, I'm not a Muslim, so I'm just saying what they said. These Muslim women said they were just very adamant. They were like, all these scriptures and strictures and everything from the Hadith. That's in the Hadith. We just need the Quran. Everything we need is the Quran. We don't need the Hadith. And I mean, to a lot of Muslims, I mean, that just throwing the Hadith out is like, that's crazy. But because they were like, from their perspective, they're saying, listen, we, et cetera, et cetera. It was very illuminating. Here's the thing: as somebody who was there secondhand, I don't feel comfortable, restating what they said. But yeah, I just got the impression that they're at least to them, to these Muslim women, they seem to have the attitude of they're too. We why do we have this hadith? Yeah, there's tradition, etc., etc. But really, I mean, as some people say, yeah, the the Quran is a theory and the hadith is practice. Well, again, they seem to have a different attitude about that. Is all I can say. So, and I just have to say, to me, having studied, Islam and such, and having read, the Quran, and I can not read the Hadith, but I know where a lot, where a lot of this. Can I just say, Islam would be a lot more attractive to people if you didn't have that stuff in there. Just now, I'm going to have people, I don't know, screaming for my blood. Again, this is just a disinterested outsider. Just saying. Because, I mean, yeah, the Quran says, yeah, you shall not drink wine, but don't say anything about vodka. Don't say nothing about, a little bit of beer. Just says you won't drink wine. But the stricter, again, I mean, the strictest thing about against alcohol, I believe, comes mainly from the Hadith. But anyway, welcome to an hour and a half of an atheist white guy talking about religions he doesn't practice. But hey, I'm trying to be respectful. Um, let's see. Oh, you never heard of TED Talks? Really? That's odd. TED Talks are yeah, they're yeah. They were sort of very interesting back in the day. I mean, they were just all about like crazy ideas, neat ideas and such. I just have to move this thing into. But again, I think the last one I ever watched was by Gary Vanderchuck. And if you don't know who Gary V is, oh God, uh, you're so lucky. Gary Vanderchuck, I mean, the most obnoxious, pretentious, loudmouth, pig ignorant jackass on planet Earth. I mean, he was. I mean, oh God, he needs mental help. That guy, he's just. I mean, when I watch him, he's just a guy so desperately trying to prove. I mean, he just he try he. I've never met a less secure human being in my life than when I saw Gary Vanderchuck. I mean, anybody who acts that way and behaves that way in that boorish, obnoxious manner. Oh God, I don't know what happened, but obviously, you didn't get your ass kicked enough in school. I'm getting my impression because anybody who just like opens this hole in the front of his head and just lets this crap just fall out. I don't know how that came to be. My goodness, it shouldn't have happened. IMHO. I mean, just being a professional, just obnoxious jerk. Just being able to spout industry jargon. And anyway, I think that was a point where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I've had enough of inspirational Buddhist talks and stuff. Oh, look there. We have a problem with the mask behind the scene. I'm going to put on a little bit more a racket in the background again. Who's Ted? Yeah, it's like that episode. Episode of The Young Ones where oh, what's all this mail? Who's that for? And Mike goes, oh, that's just Bill's. He goes, who's Bill? Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna bring this over. TED Talk on YouTube. TED Talks are technology, entertainment, and design, is what they're supposed to be about. But in the end, it's a insular. Heck, I'm hoping we're all out circle jerk among people who just really, I think, for the most part, could just keep their mouth shut. And you know, jeez, it's the domain of people, in my opinion, who think that Elon Musk is a genius. It's the Elon Musk crowd, and so on and so forth. They have these events where there are rules where they can't have any notes or anything, or they can't read. But they go up there and they discuss what they're doing and why they think it's important and such and such. And at the end, there's polite applause and they go on to the next one. And some of them are very fascinating. I will say there was the guy who started 4chan actually did a TED talk. The guy Chris Poole Moot, he did a TED talk about the importance of anonymity and stuff, and considering that everybody's being tracked nowadays, et cetera, he just gave something because he just gave examples of vigilantism that happened because of 4chan and stuff that successful vigilantism against people who deserved it, like for example, Kenny Glenn. This jackass kid who literally posted YouTube videos of him physically abusing his cat. And literally, it was one of the fantastic things. Within about 3 hours of that guy posting his video, people had looked at what was in the background of the video, and they cross-referenced against thousands of like MySpace and Facebooks, and they found exactly that guy. And within hours, that kid was, I mean, taken, put in jail. Unfortunately, he wasn't, put in a correctional facility, et cetera, et cetera. But the kid, Kenny Glenn, who was caught, before Chan was able to get arrested that day, he did an AMA on Reddit about about 15 years later or something, 13 years ago. And it was titled, 13 years ago, I did something that was unforgivable. Ask me anything. So the guy, I mean, obviously, thankfully, he said he turned vegetarian. He's, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, 4chan was good back in the day, before the days of, it did have its, oh goodness, no, that goes against the old meme. 4chan was never good. Yeah. Maybe a torrent. Yeah, safe. Okay, so, and yeah, boy, that's another thing we could talk about. But I think I've already just rambled on and on about like that guy and why I don't like him. And she's again, people who bring up that sort of stuff to me, and they're like, "Oh, have you heard of this?" They remind me of like a Proud Boy who's like, "Oh, have you heard of this?" And he sends me a link to like the Protocols of Elders of Zion, and I'm like, "My goodness, are people still listening to this?" SMH, but have you heard of this great idea called fascism? It's never been tried before. Let's see what happens this time. Anyway, one thing that has fortunately has become very apparent to me is I need to come up with a better grass solution, because these guys are just too high poly. In fact, there was this comedian, he did Super High Me. He's a big pothead comedian, and he had this thing. He said, "Get your fash on." No, he has like there's this like the Gap or something. They had a advertising campaign, and the slogan was "Get your fash on." And he said, "Wasn't that the advertising slogan for fascism?" And after he said, "No, the advertising slogan for fascism was fascism. Let's see what happens." Essentially, that's the entire selling point that the new fascists are like pitching. But some of them literally do, the Proud Boys and such. Like, "Oh, have you heard about this new thing, man?" I mean, I could tell. By the way, hopefully, I'm not using, offending anybody using adult language, but this new generation of fascists is just kind of crazy. I mean, the first thing that a cult does is like control your personal behavior, and if you're not aware, people who join like this stupid like Proud Boy fascist like group pretend, policemen, brown shirt brigade. Uh, they are very much into this whole thing of the new fascism and everything. And if you're not aware, one of the things that you have to do if you're into the Proud Boy things is you're not allowed to masturbate unless you're within 3 feet of a woman. Yes. So if any of your friends are like, "Oh yeah, I'm into the Proud Boy," laugh at them, point and laugh until you can laugh no longer. I'm just gonna do a little bit of terrain painting because I'm constantly seeing this old terrain. We lost a lot of the terrain detail, a little bit of the terrain detail when I converted to URP. And I just want to go back in and just take care of the few like egregious parts like this area over here. Maybe I'm gonna just do this for the rest of our talk here because it's something I could do well that doesn't require much in the way of thinking. Just go around town and make sure everything's painted. But anyway, like I said, bringing this back to like the Proud Boys' attitude toward fascism is, I mean, I guess after they can't masturbate after what they have to do something else. So they start watching, like YouTube history things. And they're like, "Oh yeah, have you heard? Yeah, don't you understand? Hitler, he built the Autobahn, man. Don't you know that? He put in animal cruelty laws. Don't you know that? Hitler was a sensitive man." Yeah. Or they just try to go, "Oh man, Hitler, yeah, he just did it wrong. It could have been done right." Yeah, that's yeah, whatever it is, the dial of destiny argument. That's what it's going to be from here on out. And it's every bit as bad as the dial of destiny, that argument, by the way. I just have to point that out. Haven't seen the movie? Don't need to. Just saying. I've heard enough about it. I mean, has anybody in the audience here seen it? Can anybody tell me they thought it was a great film? I understand some people literally think they're straight up saying it's the best indie film ever. To which I'm like, whoa! I just can't get it. Because everything I've heard just leads me to believe it's crap. Mm. So just going around here sealing up these more egregious white spots. But yeah, I think I've gone on, and what can I talk about? I've gone on about Hans Rosling and just fairy tale thinking, and how we can't really afford it. I think I've shat on fascists enough for this time, but then again, you can't shit on fascists enough, in my opinion. Because I mean, I've stated this so many times, and the guy, actually no, the person who does philosophy tube, came really convinced me because for the longest time, and I still do have some friends who actually consider themselves straight up fascists. But I do I mean, it took me a bit to realize really the whole really dynamic equation because I mean, to me, I am one of those civil libertarians that is like, yes, you have an absolute right to be a Nazi, you have an absolute right to be one. But at the same time, I have an absolute right to make fun of you and point at you. Ha 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 ha. And so I mean, I'm not one of these people who constantly is like, I am Antifa, as you can see here. Well, no, I'm not wearing my Antifa t-shirt, but I am anti-fascist. But to a certain extent, I mean, I do understand that we live in a society where fascists do have the right to speak their minds. But, and here's the big but, from my point of view, in an ideal society, these people have the absolute right to be a fascist. However, in these people's ideal society, people like me are the enemy, and I need either re education, imprisonment, or eradication. And when you look at it that way, you're viewing fascism as a philosophical exercise. It becomes less forefront in your mind. I still do to a great extent, but unfortunately, I mean, people are just coming back to it. I spent a goodly number of years, following contemporary fascist movements because, here's why. My father grew up in the ruins of World War II in Austria, and he grew up seeing the absolute horror and carnage and ruin that fascism inevitably brings, and it does inevitably bring that. And so, yeah, I mean, me and him had the attitude of no one's ever going to fall for this crap again. It's an intellectual exercise. It's just something to study, to keep prescient in your mind. But I mean, now we're back at this place where people are like, hey, have you heard about this really great idea? You know, corporatism. Yeah, the Chile miracle, man. Chilean miracle. They really got their economy working, man, really fast. Record time, man. Yeah, yeah. At what cost? Anyway, I just had to. It's just silly. did. I mean, and I guess I mean, there are just people out there. I mean, Nick Fuentes, my goodness, that guy never has to work again for the rest of his life, and he is a disgusting individual. But you know, he's unfortunately part of that whole 4chan thing, where I guarantee you guys start on 4chan because even when 4chan was like admittedly leftist, like just straight up leftist, there was a time before QAnon where definitely I could tell you because I did spend several years. I will admit I was a B-tard for several years, and I could speak the lingo. I mean, I know their. I mean, I knew their language back then, and that was another one of the reasons I really got into it. By the way, 4chan is because when I first discovered 4chan, I was like, I don't understand what the hell these guys are saying. They are using a language of iconography and verbiage that I have never seen before. I don't understand. And after it took me a couple of months to really learn what these people were saying to each other. And yes, there was always, this ironic, springtime for Hitler, sort of thing about fascism where it's like, lol, Hitler, lol, whatever. And yeah, the Paul board. The Paul board was definitely, politics board, unfortunately, was always far right. But the random board was, I mean, back in the days of Project Chronology and all that, and I was there. I mean, I could tell you, it was a leftist place. Uh, and I mean, that's why to me, can I say the strangest phenomenon about 4chan, I mean, QAnon and all of this, is that it came out of 4chan and an even worse place, 8chan. Because, I mean, these places pride themselves on being the absolute worst place in the internet. They're like, I mean, absolute garbage. I mean, this is the place where, it's just horrible. And I mean, that is the reason, I mean, why they were the perfect army to go up against Scientology, by the way, back in the days of Project, Chanology, is because Scientology's default attack against its detractors was to, at first bull bait them, literally call them the F word, and just like do whatever. And people at 4chan were like, "Oh, you're saying that I'm I'm a fag and that I can't get laid? Duh, I'm on 4chan. Of course I can't get, that's why I'm here." And so it was like Scientology were like throwing their best attacks up against the anonymous army, and the anonymous was just like, yeah, is that the best you got? And yeah, it was, those were the days. Yeah, I picketed against the Church of Scientology, opposite of the Church of Scientology for jeez, years, 2 years. And they actually sent Scientology lawyers to my front, my house once. I lost the letter, and that's one of the biggest regrets of my life. I mean, having an actual, legal threat letter from Scientology. I wanted to have it framed, but back then I was so poor I couldn't get it framed. So anyway, yeah, yeah. Oh boy. And just, yeah, again, it's just absolutely bizarre to me that, yeah, QAnon came out of 4chan and such. Because, and I know, because I know back in the day, if somebody had come back onto 4chan, onto B and gone, I'm a U.S. government operative and I have Q clearance and blah, and then everybody would have, it would have just been like massive. Everybody would have gone, lol, idiot, moron, fool, jerk. They would have doxed him within a half an hour, and just it would have ended. But for some reason, I do not know. I mean, I think what happened was that 4chan was around the time of Gamergate. It switched from left to right. Left leaning to right leaning, um, and that was another thing that just like utterly just bizarre. Because if you do not know, after Gamergate, the whole like anti-feminist crap went onto the atheist community. And there was a guy, a Thunderfoot, that I had watched for years, who was just doing videos about, atheist thought and perspectives and such. And all of a sudden he was doing nothing but videos about how women are destroying everything and the matriarchy and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the hell happened here? I just don't get it, guys. You guys out there, if there are any people who fall for that crap. And I should see if anybody's like chatting, because I've been sitting here just blah blahing for so long. I should see if anybody's saying. Yeah, and I know some Muslims are like, oh yeah, if you drink any alcohol whatsoever, you're a Muslim. Like, she's Bosnian Muslim, so half the Muslims in Bosnia are Muslim. I get it. Hmm. In Bosnia, it was traditional actually. It was like Lent for Catholics, essentially. Um, you know, they would give it up for Ramadan, and that's it. And also Turkey, by the way. There wouldn't be a huge rocky business over there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I mean, I think that, there's an old joke down south, if you've never heard it. Why don't Southern Baptists have sex standing up? Because they're afraid that other people will see them and think they're dancing. Understand, I think that all of these things against pork, all these things that are put upon us by religion, is just bollocks. I'm not, not. I just don't see any use for any of them. And oh, actually, we need. That's actually a bad idea because we need that stuff. Um, I want to turn off Veg Studio. Actually, I've probably been streaming now for like 2 hours or rambling my face off. Sorry. Okay, so systems objects here. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't like that we lost a lot of these. I mean, most of this stuff over here that's sandy texture is actually supposed to be the rock texture, but in the conversion from from standard to URP, that was a hit I'm willing to take. What's this? That is the pet cemetery up here, the heart shaped, all over here. All the I keep on forgetting that I really have to finish this up. All the people who contributed at the very beginning when we were just starting our first Kickstarter, they were able to have their pet immortalized in the pet cemetery in the center of the island. And it looks like these prefabs here. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Oh, they're opaque on one side. I'm gonna have to adjust those. Yeah, I can adjust those. That's no problem. All right. But yeah, let's see. I forget what I was just painting is what I was doing. Let's see where we are on time wise. 7:52. I'm gonna see if anybody's chatted and all the people who've left. Wait, I zoned out fascism. Oh, I'm not okay, I'm not a fascist. Okay, Ethan's Vault. The game, when it comes out, I'm thinking of having it at $29.99 or $24.99. If you contribute $25 to our Patreon and then quit, you will get a postcard set and the full game when it comes out. Understand that we are at a point right now where, because of our financial situation and because of the way the gaming industry works, once we sign with a publisher, there are certain aspects of the games, of the game that we will have no longer any control over. And I believe they will probably have control over how much the game will go for in the end, because they are the people that are paying for, the game's development. So of course, they're going to be very adamant about paying for that. So I'm adamant about setting the price, because they got to work down to a science, of how much money they can make for a certain game. And actually, that's something, can I say, that I'm having to wrap my mind around. Because, understand, I am a guy that thinks that everything can be run on the cheap. And I think the cheaper, the better. And when publishers have gotten in touch with us, one of the questions they ask is, how much money do you think it will take to finish the game in full? And when I answer, until recently, because you'll find out why I'm having to change this practice, I would always go, well, listen, here's how we could do it, and it'll cost you X digits. And then I would go back and I'd say, listen, but let me tell you, we could get it done for a smaller version if you want. We can get it done for about like 60% of that estimate if you want. But, and here's the thing that really astounds me. These game development companies, these game publishers, they have it worked down almost to an absolute science. And that how many dollars they put into a game's development will yield so many dollars in return. So if I go to them and I say, listen, we only need, say, $100,000 to get the game done, they will go, no, screw you. Because we figured it out. If we give you $100,000, we know the chances are, pretty much proven that we will make so much of a percentage of that back. And we are not interested in making a percentage of $100,000. What they are interested in is making a percentage of, say, 1.5 million or 2 million. So when I go to these publishers, and understand, we are not at the point now that we can show this off to publishers. We are so close. We are literally within weeks of being able to show this off to publishers. But I need to feed the kitty cats, by the way, in a moment. I do need to. Unfortunately, we are still running on crowdfunding for the time being. But when they come, we are going to have to go to these guys and literally say, yes, give us 1.5 million. And there's absolutely no guarantee that they will give us that. But the thing is if we go to them with a smaller estimate, they will run it through their little internal calculator, and they will say, sorry, we're not interested, because we are not interested in making a percentage of $100,000. We are interested in making a percentage of 1.5 million. And it doesn't matter that we've already put so many K of funds into developing it so far. They don't even account that. So, dude, it's a crazy thing to think about. Oh, excuse me. Because I'm not used to going to people and saying, yes, give me $1 million, please. And I think what's going to happen is, if we don't sign on with a publisher, and I've mentioned this on our Kickstarter, what's going to happen is we're going to put it up for, basically early purchase on Steam. And we're going to work our asses off between the months of August and October to get the beta together, the public beta together. And after that point, we can release it to both our initial supporters and people who want to buy it in the future. And we can, support it through hopefully future sales. But that is that is a hard road to hoe. Give me a moment because I see people have been chatting over here, including a couple. So um, I'm reading chat now. Yes, I am. I see people have chatted a bit. I'm gonna go grab some dishes and make my kitty cat's dinner. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint a little bit more and finish up my thought, and then say bye bye. So I'll be right back. Thanks to those who are live viewing. Be right back. Yeah, I'm gonna clear it here. Why not? I forget which thought I was at, but anyway. And by the way, don't think that like I said when I was like, oh, we're gonna have to go to a publisher and ask for an insane amount of money. Don't think that's guaranteed. Do not think that's guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, look at the people who made Scorn. Boy, I have to wonder, considering the scammers that are active here in the United States as far as game developers go, I have to wonder what it's like in Serbia. Because that, I mean, one of the thing is people were always wondering how come that game wasn't developed for 8 or 9 years. Well, as you know, many other game developers have said, we put our trust in the wrong people. And I guarantee you, there's a surplus of the wrong kind of people over there in Serbia. I need to get a knife to stir up these guys. We'll be right back. Don't worry. Come here. So, cat here. He's very upset because, I mean, every time I make his dinner here in front, on my desk while I'm like streaming, he just is like, "Are you insane? That's kind of crazy. You're insane." Ronan, he's a good boy. But let me tell you, when we first adopted him, he was a tough adoption. He boy, he was a pain in the butt. He's chilled out a lot now. He's very much. You know, dinner for kitties. Come on, kitty cats, guys, everybody, dinner. Time to stuff your faces. All right, come on. And gather up the dirty dishes. We have 3 cats, by the way. Oh, I showed the cat. Yeah, I'm very sorry that I'm not like streaming gameplay. Heck, if you want, I could stream my RimWorld game. That's a game that I feel, geez, it's a shameful thing. I can't give it up. Mm. But let's see. Yeah, it's kind of weird. You can decrease the size of the brush using the keyboard shortcut, but you can't increase it. Then you get, or can you? Look at that, you can, huh? I wonder what causes it to do. Anyway, boy. Yeah, this is a process that's going to require these guys. Yeah, there's just so many areas that I have to think about. I again, I don't like the idea of having to repaint some stuff, but every time I again go through this and just do a final review of things, I'm like, there are things, so many things that I missed the first 15 times I went over here. Um, these slant areas. Well, yeah, this. I mean, literally, I'm going to be painting this for a couple of days. It looks like. Well, about a day, I think. Really, just a day of just scooching around and painting wherever I find. But I forget what I was talking about. I was probably rambling about something stupid. That's usually what I'm doing. I come to in the middle of the end of this like 2 hour long stream. Like, what was I talking about? I was saying that the Hadith is not totally not whatever. It's integral to the practice of Islam. Oh my goodness, I would never say such a thing. All right. Hmm? Okay. I wish we had more. Kitty cats are more like viewable. The reason that my camera is at this weird angle is because Olivia, at least, was hanging out up on my shelf, my cat shelf up there. She's now gone bye bye. I think she's probably in Laura's office right now. Um, yeah. Oh God, did we lose that? It's just bizarre that we lost. Why did it replace it with like beach stuff? It's just odd. Like the sand texture. Why did it replace the mountainside texture with that texture? It just makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, turn on the terrain collider. The only thing is, I need to dash back and get myself another snack. I said I was going to I need to set a dead end to this because I think I've been doing this now for how long now? Let's see. Oh God, an hour and 37 minutes. Laura's going to be angry. Um, well, she probably don't care. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm gonna go in and freshen up my beverage. I will be right back, and I'm gonna set a hard 5 minute end. And if anybody has any comments, criticism, or anything, I'm willing to address them and talk about them. And I think I've already talked so many times about us place why the game has been delayed. I could talk about it again. Uh, anyway, I'll be back. Okay. Okay. Nosferatu. Um, oh wait, when I said the cat up there went bye bye. Um, no, she went bye bye because she had stuff to do, cat stuff to do, and I left my glass in the other room. Sorry, be right back. Die, 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 die. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna lay down a little bit of this texture over here, just to get it. So, actually, kind of like the idea of just doing this with a 8. So let's go to 15. Yeah. bring up the opacity on that a bit. Just a little bit cagey. Oh, I see why. Oh, no, that's way too, just taking care of the big gaps for now. But, yeah. So, yeah, I'll set, just say, well, hey, 5 minutes. I'll call this quit. I don't know if anybody has any comments or critiques. Hey, Ronan, people say they want to see kitty cats. Come here. Here, Ronan. Here. You could stand up here and people could still see you, Ronan. See? Up here. A kitty cat. See? Yeah, this guy, he's a Norwegian forest cat. That's the breed that he is most of. And boy, when I think he was literally like 3 ounces or 4 ounces when we got him, he was just so tiny. And now he's gigantic. Boy, he could definitely eat me if he could probably beat me in hand-to-hand combat, that guy. He's a tough one. Anybody who out seen any good movies lately? I'm just wondering, hey, after I quit this, I mean, I'm gonna have to find some reason to something to do when I'm done with this. So hey, anybody seen any good movies lately? Anybody got something they can recommend? I'm all ears because I've not seen. And before you suggest anything, not interested in superhero movies at all. Please, 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 no superhero movies. It's just silly. I don't like zombie crap and I don't like superheroes. I just don't. I don't get the appeal. I collected comic books for years and I was like, I think the only superhero comic book I ever got was Fight Man, and that was Evan Dorkin's comic book making fun of superheroes. Because here's the thing, no matter what you do in a superhero comic, here's what's going to happen. Oh, the hero superhero is going to encounter a challenge like they've never seen before, and they're going to reach deep inside of themselves, and they're going to discover something that they never had, and in the end, it's going to get them past this obstacle. Yay! That's every freaking superhero story, and it's so dull. All right, everybody's going bye bye. All right, no movie suggestions. I'll just go and watch. I don't know, some. I'll go watch a Serbian film again. No, I've never seen that. Never want to. Anyway, see you guys later. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate everybody watching. I mean, again, I know I'm cognizant that this is not the most exciting watching, but it's all got to get done. So, anyway, I'm gonna save, and I'll see you guys in another couple of days. Take care. Bye bye.